because I've said many times, it's tough to win. So, you know, not a tight game. Seems like every time you turn on the TV, you know, there are a lot of points being scored, and it's tight, or there's not many scored, and it's tight. But big win for our football program, you know, the 7th win. We've been on that milestone here for a couple weeks. So I thought it was a big moment for us. Outstanding job by Josiah. Scott, we sort of tried to figure out whether we were going to play him in this game or not, and I'm glad we did. You know, 2 big picks. I thought that we had some opportunities offensively, and you know, penalties took us out of there or whatever. But early on, but outstanding catch by Sokol early in the, I guess it was in the 2nd quarter. And then I think our defense played outstanding. But I think probably the biggest plays in the game was probably the punt, the ensuing series where we run the option on 3rd down and Rocky picks up the 1st down, and then obviously the reverse for a touch to Cody White, and then I also thought Connor Hayward's big run at the end of the game was huge, because we were backed up and they were going to get the ball, and they had just driven down, so then they still had momentum there and still had some field position things. They were going to get the ball back with 50 seconds to go, or whatever it was. So, but I'm really happy for our football team and our seniors especially, and took a step forward today. We'll see how it all shakes out in the bowl season, but just got to keep getting better. We had some guys open and missed some throws, but hey, win's a win, and like I've said before, they all count one. So I'll take some questions.
Any questions for Coach?
Stunned. I'm stunned.
Mark?
Yeah.
Over here. I know every win is difficult, but your offense sometimes seems to make them more difficult. Can you kind of assess where that group is right now and why?
Well, you know, I mean, I think that first of all, you lose players that make a lot of plays, you know, for the season. You know, it's tough to deal with at times. And, you know, there's a reason a guy's first team and another guy's a backup. You know, so those guys have their opportunities, but they're maybe not quite as experienced or whatever it is. But we lost a lot of, you know, Felton Davis still, you know, was one of our top receivers coming into this week. He's one short of being the leading receiver. You know, having LJ in 1,000-yard, you know, losing that. You know, so. You know, it's the quarterback situation, our offensive line situation. So, I mean, it's so much works, I think, on timing. There's a lot of timing out there. We had a lot of balls overthrown. I thought we had some, maybe some catchable that were dropped. We have penalties that put us in bad situations that, you know, disappointing when it's a composure penalty. I can handle the other ones, but when you're on the 2-yard line, you have a composure penalty and back it up, and then you botch the snap or it's a high snap. He tries to get it down. We don't even get a field goal out of it. It's disappointing. But what I will say is our guys will keep playing, and they'll play hard. And at the end of the day, you can call it what you want. You win by a lot. We win 50-48. Everybody's complaining about the defense. I guess probably 25 to 23. That's probably hitting right in the norm there. Everybody's happy. But it sort of is what it is sometimes. But you know, I think we called every play out there on the sheet. So, and some more than once, but you got to execute and you got to come away with it. But at the end of the day, it's about winning too. And so, I don't know if I'm answering the question well enough, but that would be par for the course too. Anything else?
Mark,
Yes.
sorry, you mentioned being glad you played Josiah. You know, he's got that 4-game limit, or else he can't take a red shirt. What's the plan going forward with the bowl game with him, and how much did that kind of factor into it?
You know, we'll see as the bowl game comes, but you know, there's a lot that can go on. If he's able to play in 5 games and he's making an impact in the games, I think you allow him to play. But that's a family decision for him. We'll just sort of listen to his family on that. But you know, 2 more years is a long time. 3 more years is a long time for him. You know, would he go out after 2 more years? I don't know. So you got to look at all those things. He's definitely going to graduate because he came here early, so he's going to graduate on time. So he's got some things to think about in that regard, and we'll just play it by ear. But we'll talk to his family. I just really felt like, or we just felt when I talked to him this week, that this was such an important game that this really went beyond maybe even the bowl game, because we needed to win 7. We need to have everybody going in the same direction, and glad we did.
Coach, senior day is always a pretty emotional day, so when you look back and think about this specific senior class, what are the things that are going to stick out?
You know, a lot of those guys came as freshmen and played as freshmen, you know. Andrew Dow, Grayson Miller, Kari Willis, just to think of a few. You know, we went to the playoffs that year. They had that experience. They started in games. Those three guys started in games as true freshmen. We've got guys who were at the Baylor game the year before. You even got John Resch, who was at the Rose Bowl, I guess. So they've had a lot of great experiences. A lot of those guys had great experiences, and they saw a dip in 2016, and they sort of reaffirmed themselves. And then they, with last year's 10-win team, and then this year it's tight. It's tight. Wish I could sit there saying, hey, we won our 10th game tonight, but we didn't. But it sort of goes as it goes sometimes. But they've done an outstanding job, and I think we have 10 guys graduating mid-year. Some have already graduated, so I think the majority of those guys are all going to graduate. The rest of them will graduate in the spring, so they've done an outstanding job. Gerald Owens, great year this year. And he came here as a tailback, and now he's 305. Okay, but an active 305, but he's had a great year for us. And I can't say enough going back to the game about our defense. They're playing hard and playing extremely well.
Mark, you go with the back to Rocky. It's kind of a two-part question with separate things here. But with Rocky, he struggled to find receivers in some of the past. I guess, what did you see from him today to kind of stick with him? And there was no other plan to go with anybody else. It was just his ball the rest of the way.
Yeah, it was his deal. Like I think you guys know, I'm going to try to stay with our guy. I may get criticized for that, but I think that I need to ante up a little bit sometimes with those guys. But for him, what I see in Rocky Lombardi is I see a competitive, very competitive guy, competitive spirit, won't out back down. No, just because he doesn't make the play, the venue isn't too big for him. He can stand in there and compete and have confidence in himself. He will lead, he'll keep playing, and he'll fight through the tough times. You know, he's sort of, somebody asked me the other day, excuse me, who he reminds me of, and I'm thinking back and I'm like, oh, that's a good question. Vince McMahon, you know, that kind of guy. You know, just makes people around him better. Tough guy attitude, athletic, not afraid to put his head down and run through somebody, and will give you everything he's got. And while it's frustrating at times when you miss a guy, he's going to be better. And if he has the game that he had versus Purdue, you know, he's much more excited. But he didn't. So this is the learning process, and like I said, these things are processes. I think as you move forward with the quarterback, it's a process.
And the second part of that, it kind of goes with that. I mean, you look at the stat sheet, and a number of these guys are redshirt freshmen, second-year sophomores. I guess when we talk about the offensive tip, how much of that is the inexperience maybe of some of those guys coming in for veterans who were hurt versus the knowledge that they're going to get from this year?
Well, you know, Blake Buter is a guy who just put on scholarship, and he's a redshirt freshman, and he's at the center position. So, you know, when you're at the center position, it's called that for a reason. You're at the hub. And, you know, so that's where it all starts. I do think that our other guys have experience, although we're playing two true sophomores at right guard and right tackle. But, you know, they have enough experience to be able to play well. You got to win at the point of attack on offense. And, you know, there are times we did that, and there are times we didn't, probably. So you have to watch the film. But if they go back and have to talk about Rutgers, they're an improved football team. They really are. I mean, they're, you know, it's a 10-0 game, I think, at half against Penn State, and they're right there. They were ahead 3-0 at one point, I believe, or maybe 10-3, whatever it was. But I think they're an improved football team. Three good tailbacks, actually, but two very good tailbacks. The quarterback kept you honest by, I think he scrambled 10 times, you know, for some yards. So give him a little credit.
Quick clarification, when you referred to Rocky, did you mean Jim McMahon? Because you said Vince.
I mean Jim.
Okay.
It's been a tough night.
Okay. Mark, with
correct that. Just strike that.
With the regular season over, obviously there's still a bowl game. Do you plan on going back and reviewing the season and looking at the possibility of staff changes, Mark, or are you pretty happy and set with your staff?
You know, those are questions that I think are in-house questions when I make those decisions, you know, I make them, but, you know, I do think that, first of all, you self-evaluate and you start to think about people and think about things. You always do. Every year we do. We did last year too, okay? And the year before, the year before, and the year before, we always look at those things. But from my perspective, you know, it's more than just about calling a play. It's about the teaching progression. It's about what's being taught in the classroom. It's about what's being taught on the field. It's about execution of that. And then it's also about how do you recruit, how do you handle people in general, and what kind of person you are. And I've always said loyalty goes both ways. And so my inclination is to sort of sit and hold with people. That's who I've been. That's why we've had continuity, because it goes both ways. You know, I know everybody out there is on the warpath. Okay, and the wolf is at the door, as I said last week, but you know, that's why I'm the head coach, so I can deflect some of that.
We have two more, one on each side.
Mark, I was curious, what did you think of the punt return execution today? Brandon had a nice return late, and then earlier it seemed like he let a few go that were in the 10 to 20-ish range. I know you've talked about digging in at the 10, and it was a little bit before that, a couple of bounces. Just curious about.
Yeah, you know, I guess, again, in the world of explosion of Australian punters, you know, and it's end over end kicks, you know, they're going to take off a little bit more. They're going to flip a little bit more. I thought he did a pretty good job. I'm not sure how many times the guy punted, maybe 7, 8, 9? 8. So he did have one return. He did catch probably 3 or 4 of them, and a couple of them went in. But the main thing back there is you got to be able to field the football. And if he can't field it clean, I'd rather have it bounce in and we'll deal with it. And we've got to do a good job in terms of holding up their guys running down, which I thought we tried. But sometimes you're in punt safe, and so you're sort of playing both ends of the stick there, as I said last week.
Yeah, you mentioned Felton Davis earlier. You know, when you see him on the field in crutches and living around on senior day, I mean, is there a lot of, you know, what if or what that could have been for you guys offensively and for Felton as well?
Yeah, you know, Felton's not only is he a great player, but he's a great person, and he lifts people up around him, and he brings energy to them. So, you know, all these guys, when you lose a player, you lose some of your chemistry. He's maintained that. So have our other guys. They've maintained that as they've gone forward. And you know, I saw his little video, which I thought was outstanding, just talking about his time here and everything. So it's a 9-minute video, a little long, but I'm in.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Guys, good.